When the grid goes down and you're sheltering in place, the biggest threat to your survival isn't the crisis itself. It's the mistakes you make in the first 72 hours that will either keep you safe or turn you into a target. I'm Zach, and I've been prepping since 2012, and today I'm going to walk you through the 20 critical mistakes that even experienced preppers make when bugging in, and more importantly, how to avoid every single one of them. Look, I get it. You've stockpiled food, you've got water stored, maybe you've even got a security plan, but here's what nobody tells you. Bugging in isn't about having stuff. It's about knowing how to use what you have without painting a target on your back. And that's exactly what we're covering today, so stick with me because some of these mistakes might surprise you. Let's jump right into mistake number 1, and this is the one that gets more preppers caught than anything else. Broadcasting your preparedness. Now, I'm not just talking about posting your preps on social media, though, yeah, don't do that either. I'm talking about the subtle ways you advertise that you're ready when nobody else is. Back in 2014, I learned this lesson the hard way during a severe ice storm that knocked out power to our area for almost 2 weeks. My neighbor, great guy, had this brand new generator sitting right there in his driveway, running 24/7. Within 3 days, he had people he barely knew showing up at all hours asking to charge their phones, to keep their medication cold, to run an extension cord to their house. By day 5, someone tried to steal the thing right off his property. Meanwhile, I had a generator too, but mine was in my garage, and I only ran it for a couple hours each evening when I really needed it. Nobody knew we had power. Nobody bothered us.
Here's the thing. Every visible sign of preparedness is an invitation for desperate people to come knocking. That rain catchment system in your yard, it tells everyone you've got water when they don't. Those solar panels on your roof, they're basically a billboard saying you've got electricity. The delivery truck dropping off bulk supplies, your neighbors are watching and they're remembering. So what do? First, make your preps invisible. If you've got solar panels or a rain catchment system, position them where they're not easily visible from the street. When you're bringing in supplies, do it after dark or back your vehicle into the garage before you unload. And this is critical. Stop talking about your preparations. I don't care if it's your best friend, your brother-in-law, or your workout buddy. Loose lips don't just sink ships. In a crisis, they get your door kicked in. Mistake number 2 ties directly into this, and it's one I see all the time: leaving obvious signs of occupancy. When things get bad and most people are struggling, you cannot look like you're thriving. Think about what your home communicates to someone walking by. If every other house in the block is dark and yours has lights on all night, what does that say? If everyone else's yard is getting overgrown and yours is still being maintained, what does that signal? You're telling everyone you've got resources they don't. This is where light discipline comes in. During a grid-down scenario, any light coming from your home after dark is like a lighthouse in a storm. It draws attention. You need blackout curtains, not just regular curtains, on every window. And I mean every window, including that little bathroom window you think nobody can see. During the day, you can open them to let in natural light. But once the sun starts setting, everything gets sealed up tight. Use the minimum light you need inside and keep it away from windows. Even during the day, you've got to think about what people see. If the crisis goes on for weeks, let your yard go a little. Don't be the only house with a freshly mowed lawn. Let some trash accumulate near your curb like everyone else. I know it goes against everything in you to let things look run down, but in a crisis, blending in keeps you safe. You want to look just as affected as everyone around you.
Mistake number 3, and this is huge: cooking smells. You'd be shocked how far the smell of food travels, especially when nobody else is cooking. I remember during an extended power outage in my area, you could smell who still had the ability to cook a hot meal from 3 houses away. And trust me, hungry people notice. Here's what happens. You're sitting inside your home, you've got your stockpile, you figure you might as well eat well, right? So you fire up your camp stove or your grill and you cook up some bacon, some onions, maybe a nice pot of chili. That smell is going to drift out your windows, under your doors, and through your vents. And every hungry person within 100 yards is going to smell it and wonder why you're eating so well when they're not. The solution? Cook foods that produce minimal odors. Rice, beans, oatmeal. These are your friends. They're filling, nutritious, and they don't announce to the neighborhood that you're having a feast. If you absolutely have to cook something that smells, do it in the middle of the night when fewer people are awake to notice, or cook it in a way that contains the smell better, like boiling instead of frying. And ventilate carefully. Don't just throw open your windows and let those cooking smells pour out into the street. Another trick? Cold meals. I know. Nobody wants to eat cold food for weeks on end, but hear me out. There are plenty of nutritious foods that don't require cooking. Canned goods, protein bars, dried fruits, nuts, peanut butter. You can survive just fine on these, and you eliminate the smell problem entirely. Save your hot meals for when you really need the morale boost, and even then, be smart about it. Now, before we keep going, I want to share something with you that's going to make your bugging in strategy so much more effective, because I know how overwhelming all of this can feel, especially when you're trying to figure out how much food to store and what to buy. I put together a completely free guide that walks you through exactly how to turn $50 into a 90-day food supply. Yeah, you heard that right, $50. This guide includes the exact shopping list with specific brands and prices, 37 essential items most people never think to stockpile, and the simple storage trick that works whether you're in a house or an apartment. Plus, I show you emergency meals you can make with zero cooking fuel, which ties right into what we just talked about. The link is in the description below or in the pinned comment, and it's absolutely free. No catch, no credit card, just send me your email and I'll send you the guide. It's going to save you time, money, and a whole lot of stress. All right, let's get back to it. Mistake number 4, using up your resources too quickly. This is one of those mistakes that sneaks up on you because it feels reasonable in the moment. The crisis hits, you're stressed, and you start consuming your supplies at your normal rate. But here's the problem. You have no idea how long this crisis is going to last. I learned this during my first serious attempt at prepping back in 2013. I'd stocked up on what I thought was a lot of food, probably about 3 weeks worth. Then we had a situation where I couldn't get to the store for about 10 days. No big deal, right? Wrong, because I didn't ration, I ate like normal, and by day 8, I was looking at slim pickings. It hit me that if the situation had gone on longer, I would have been in real trouble. The whole point of your stockpile is to buy you time, not to maintain your current lifestyle, but to keep you alive and functional until things stabilize. That means from day 1, you need to be in rationing mode. Figure out the minimum calories you need to maintain your energy and activity level and stick to it. For most adults, that's somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 calories a day, depending on how active you are. Same thing with water. You should be drinking what you need to stay hydrated, but this isn't the time for long showers or running water to wash dishes. Every drop counts. And fuel, whether it's propane for your camp stove or gas for your generator, conserve it like your life depends on it, because it might. Use it only when absolutely necessary, and always ask yourself if there's a way to accomplish the same task without consuming your limited resources. Here's a practical tip. On day 1 of your bug-in scenario, sit down and do the math. Count up your supplies, estimate how long they'll last at different consumption rates, then pick a conservative rate and commit to it. It's better to have food left over when things get better than to run out while things are still bad. Mistake number 5, and this is a big one that people don't think about until it's too late, not having a waste management plan. I'm going to be blunt here. When the toilets stop flushing and the garbage trucks stop running, you're going to have a problem. And that problem is going to get worse every single day.
Human waste, food scraps, packaging, all of this accumulates fast. And if you don't have a plan for dealing with it, you're going to end up with a health hazard that could make you and your family sick. Plus, garbage and waste attract pests. Rats, flies, stray animals. These aren't just annoying, they spread disease. For human waste, you've got several options. If your toilet still has water in the bowl, but the system isn't flushing, you can manually flush by pouring a bucket of water directly into the bowl. But if water is scarce, that's not sustainable. A better option is a camping toilet with bags and chemicals, or even a 5-gallon bucket with a toilet seat lid and heavy-duty bags. You can add kitty litter or sawdust to each bag to control odor, then seal it up when full.
The key is to store these waste bags somewhere away from your living area and your water supply. And you need to be thinking about this now, not when your bathroom is already unusable. Stock up on heavy-duty trash bags, kitty litter, or sawdust, and if possible, get a portable camping toilet. Trust me, it's worth it. For regular trash, you need a sorting system. Anything that can burn safely should be burned if you have a safe way to do it, like a burn barrel in your yard. Organic waste can be composted if you have the space. Everything else needs to be sealed in bags and stored away from your living area. Don't let trash pile up inside your home. It's not just unpleasant, it's dangerous. Mistake number 6, neglecting security from day one. Here's a misconception. A lot of people think that in the first few days of a crisis, everything will be relatively calm. They figure they've got time to set up their security measures, to establish their perimeter, to get their defensive plan in place. But that's not how it works. The truth is, the first 72 hours are when you're most vulnerable. That's when everyone is panicking, when desperation is highest, when people are making impulsive decisions. If your home looks like an easy target, you could have problems before you even realize how bad the situation is. Your security setup needs to be ready before the crisis hits, and it needs to be activated immediately. That means knowing where every entry point to your home is and how to reinforce it. Doors should have solid locks and ideally a way to barricade them from the inside. Windows need to be secured, especially ground floor windows. A simple wooden dowel in the track of a sliding window or door can prevent it from being opened even if the lock is picked. But security isn't just about locks. It's about awareness. You need to know what's happening around your property at all times. If you have a dog, even a small one, that's a huge advantage. Dogs hear and smell things long before we do. They'll alert you to someone approaching your property, giving you time to assess the situation and respond. If you can afford it, a security camera system is great. But remember, these require power. Solar-powered cameras can work, but have a backup plan. Motion sensor lights are another good option. Even in a grid-down scenario, battery-powered or solar motion lights can startle potential intruders and give you a warning. And here's something most people don't think about: noise. In a quiet, grid-down environment, sound carries. Keep a stash of things that make noise if disturbed. We're talking about wind chimes near windows, gravel paths around your home, even empty cans on a string. These low-tech solutions can be just as effective as expensive alarm systems. Mistake number 7, going it alone. Look, I get the appeal of the lone wolf survivalist mentality. You don't have to share resources, you don't have to worry about someone else's mistakes, and you don't risk getting betrayed. But here's the reality. Humans are social creatures, and in a long-term crisis, isolation can be just as dangerous as any external threat. When I first got serious about prepping, I kept everything to myself. I figured the fewer people who knew, the better. And while that's true to an extent, I eventually realized that I was putting myself at a disadvantage. I couldn't watch my property 24/7. I couldn't defend it from multiple directions at once. And frankly, the mental strain of doing everything alone was exhausting. The key is finding the right balance. You don't want to advertise your preps to everyone, but you do want to cultivate relationships with a small group of trustworthy people. These might be family members, close friends, or even neighbors who you vetted over time. The goal is to create a mutual support network where everyone brings something to the table. Maybe you've got food storage covered, but your neighbor has medical training. Maybe you've got security skills, but your friend down the street has a water source. When you pool resources and skills, everyone's chances of survival go up. But, and this is critical, these relationships need to be established before the crisis hits. You can't wait until things go bad to suddenly try to form alliances. By then, it's too late. Start building these relationships now. Get to know your neighbors. Offer to help with small things. Show that you're a valuable person to have around. And pay attention to who's reliable, who's level-headed, and who shares your values. Those are the people you want in your corner when things get tough.
Mistake number 8, forgetting about light discipline during the day. We've already talked about keeping your lights off at night, but what about during the day? This is a mistake I see people make all the time because they figure, hey, it's daytime, the sun is up, what's the harm in opening my curtains and letting in some natural light? Here's the harm. When people walk by or look at your property, they can see inside. They can see your stockpiles, your equipment, your living conditions. If every other house in the block looks empty or ransacked and yours looks lived in and well supplied, you're sending a message, and it's not a message you want to send. During the day, you want to keep your curtains or blinds positioned so that light can come in, but people can't see in. Sheer curtains can work for this, or you can angle your blinds so that light enters from above while blocking the view from street level. And be mindful of what's visible from outside, even with the curtains closed. Don't stack supplies right next to windows. Don't have equipment or weapons visible in areas where someone could peek in. Another thing people forget about, shadows and silhouettes. At night, even with blackout curtains, if you've got a bright light on inside, it can create shadows that are visible from outside. Someone walking by can see the movement of shadows and know you're in there. Keep your indoor lighting dim, especially near windows, and avoid moving around in brightly lit areas where your shadow could be seen. Mistake number 9, and this one is subtle but important, not managing the appearance of your property. When a crisis hits and it stretches on for days or weeks, the landscape around you is gonna change. Lawns will go unmowed, trash will pile up, homes will start to look abandoned or at least neglected. And if your property doesn't match that pattern, you're gonna stand out. Now, I'm not saying you need to trash your own yard or let your home fall apart, but you do need to think strategically about what your property communicates. If everyone else's grass is knee-high and yours is freshly cut, that tells people you've got time, energy, and resources that they don't. Same thing with other maintenance. If you're out there power washing your siding or trimming your hedges while everyone else is struggling, you're drawing attention. The goal is to make your property look just occupied enough that people don't think it's abandoned and worth looting, but not so well maintained that it looks like you're thriving. A little strategic neglect goes a long way. Let the grass grow, leave some leaves unraked, maybe even put some empty boxes or bags near your curb to make it look like you've already been picked over. One trick I use is to make my home look less appealing as a target. Board up one window, like it got broken and you had to secure it. Leave an old, broken appliance in your yard like you had to drag it out. These visual cues suggest that your home has already been hit or that you're struggling just like everyone else. It's not about making your home look destroyed, it's about making it look unremarkable. Mistake number 10, assuming the crisis will be short. This is probably the most dangerous assumption you can make. When something bad happens, our natural instinct is to think it's temporary. The power will be back on tomorrow. The stores will restock next week. Help is coming. But what if it's not? What if the crisis goes on for weeks, months, or even longer? I see this mindset all the time with newer preppers. They'll stock up on enough food and water for maybe a week or two, and they figure that's good enough. After all, how bad could it really get? But here's the thing. The disasters that are most likely to require you to bug in, things like economic collapse, pandemic, extended grid failure, these aren't quick fixes. They take time to resolve. If you go into a crisis assuming it'll be over soon, you're gonna make bad decisions. You'll use up your resources too quickly. You'll take unnecessary risks thinking you just need to make it another few days. You won't take security seriously because you figure law and order will be restored soon. And when the crisis doesn't end on your expected timeline, you'll be caught unprepared. Instead, approach every crisis with the mindset that it could last a long time. Make decisions as if you're in it for the long haul. Ration strictly from day one. Take security seriously immediately. Conserve every resource like you'll need it for months. If the crisis ends up being short, great, you'll have extra supplies left over. But if it goes long, you'll be in a much better position than everyone who assumed it would be over quickly. This mental shift is huge. It affects every decision you make, from how much water you use to brush your teeth to whether you help out a neighbor who's struggling. When you're thinking long-term, you make smarter, more sustainable choices, and that's what's going to keep you alive.
Mistake number 11, not having a communication plan. When the grid goes down or cell towers get overwhelmed, your phone probably isn't going to work. And even if it does, who are you going to call? Emergency services are going to be swamped or non-functional. So how do you communicate with your family members who might be in different parts of the house, or with your mutual support group, or even just stay informed about what's happening? This is where a lot of preppers drop the ball. They've got food, water, and security covered, but they haven't thought about communication. And in a crisis, information is power. You need to know what's happening beyond your immediate area. Are roads passable? Where are the danger zones? Is help coming? Without information, you're making decisions in the dark. The solution is to have multiple communication methods. Two-way radios like FRS or GMRS radios are affordable and don't rely on infrastructure. They're line of sight, so they work best in suburban or rural areas, but they're better than nothing. Ham radio is even better if you've got the license and equipment, because you can communicate over much longer distances and pick up emergency broadcasts. But here's what a lot of people forget. You also need a communication plan with your family and your group. Where will you meet if you get separated? How will you signal each other? What are your backup plans if your primary method fails? All of this needs to be discussed and practiced before a crisis hits. You can't figure it out on the fly when people are panicking. And don't forget about passive information gathering. A battery-powered or hand-crank emergency radio can keep you updated on news and emergency broadcasts. Even in a grid-down scenario, some radio stations will stay on the air, at least for a while. Knowing what's happening in the wider world helps you make better decisions about your own situation. Mistake number 12, and I wish more people understood this: not having a medical plan beyond basic first aid. A well-stocked first aid kit is great. Bandages, antiseptic, pain relievers, all of that is essential. But what happens when someone in your household gets seriously sick or injured? What if someone breaks a bone, develops an infection, or has a chronic condition that flares up? In a long-term bug-in scenario, professional medical help might not be available. Hospitals could be overwhelmed, or the roads to get there might be too dangerous. That means you need to be prepared to handle medical situations that would normally require a doctor. And I'm not saying you need to become a surgeon, but you do need more than just basic first aid knowledge. Take a wilderness first aid course or a combat medic course if you can. These teach you how to handle serious injuries with limited resources. Learn how to properly clean and dress a wound to prevent infection. Understand the signs of shock and how to treat it. Know how to splint a broken bone or treat a severe burn. This knowledge could save a life. And stock up on medical supplies beyond the basics. Antibiotics, if you can get them, though I know that's tricky without a prescription. Pain medication, not just over-the-counter stuff, but something stronger if possible. Suture kits, Israeli bandages for severe bleeding, tourniquets, chest seals. I know this stuff sounds extreme, but in a true SHTF scenario, you might need it. Also, if anyone in your household takes prescription medication regularly, you need to have a backup supply. I know insurance makes this difficult, but talk to your doctor. Explain that you want an emergency supply for natural disasters. Some doctors are understanding about this. And for critical medications like insulin or heart medication, having an extra 30 or 60-day supply could be the difference between life and death. Mistake number 13, using a generator without thinking about operational security. Generators are amazing. They can power your fridge, keep your medical equipment running, charge your devices, and generally make a crisis a lot more comfortable. But they're also loud. They smell like gasoline, and they're basically a neon sign that says, "I have power and fuel." I know a guy who ran his generator non-stop during an extended outage. Had it sitting right there in his backyard, running all day and night. Within a week, people he didn't even know were showing up asking if they could plug into it, if they could buy fuel from him, if they could just charge their phones. Some were friendly, but some were aggressive. He ended up having to hide the thing in his garage and only run it for a few hours a day just to get people to leave him alone. If you're going to use a generator, you need to be smart about it. First, keep it out of sight. Run it in your garage or a shed, somewhere enclosed. Make sure you've got proper ventilation because carbon monoxide will kill you, but keep it hidden. Second, use it sparingly. Run it for an hour or two in the morning, and maybe again in the evening, just enough to keep your fridge cold and charge essential devices. Don't run it all day. Third, be prepared to defend it. Generators are valuable, and they're portable. If someone decides they need yours more than you do, you might wake up to find it gone. Keep it locked up, secured with a cable or chain, and within your line of sight when it's running. And here's something most people don't think about. The noise and smell carry far. If you're in a suburban neighborhood, everyone within a few blocks is going to hear and smell your generator. That's unavoidable. But you can minimize the impact by running it during times when there's other ambient noise, like during the day rather than at night. And consider a generator muffler or building a sound dampening enclosure to reduce the noise. Mistake number 15, not thinking about temperature control. Depending on when the crisis hits, temperature could be your biggest problem. If it's summer and you lose power, your home is going to get hot. If it's winter, it's going to get cold. And both extremes can be dangerous. In summer heat, dehydration and heat stroke are real threats. You need to have a plan for staying cool without air conditioning. This means choosing the coolest room in your house, usually a basement or a room on the north side, and spending most of your time there. Keep windows covered during the day to block out heat. Open them at night to let cooler air in, but remember your light discipline. Stay hydrated, obviously. Drink more water than you think you need. And minimize physical activity during the hottest parts of the day. Wet towels or bandanas and place them on your neck and wrists to cool down. A battery-powered fan can help circulate air and make the heat more bearable. Winter is a different challenge. Staying warm without a functioning furnace or heater requires planning. First, forget about heating your whole house. That's a waste of fuel. Instead, choose 1 or 2 rooms and make those your living space. Close off the rest of the house to contain heat. Layer your clothing. Thermal underwear, wool socks, multiple shirts and pants. Keep your head covered because you lose a lot of heat through your head. Use blankets and sleeping bags even during the day. And if you have a safe way to heat your space, like a wood stove or a propane heater, use it carefully. Make absolutely sure you have proper ventilation because carbon monoxide poisoning is deadly, and it's silent. One trick I learned from an old-timer is to insulate your windows with bubble wrap or plastic sheeting. It's not pretty, but it creates an extra layer of insulation that really does help keep heat in. And if you got a small space to heat, body heat from multiple people can actually make a difference. Huddle together in one room, and it'll stay warmer than if you spread out. Mistake number 15, panicking and making emotional decisions. This is the mistake that can undo all of your careful preparation. When a crisis hits, fear and stress kick in. Your adrenaline spikes, your heart races, and your brain starts looking for immediate solutions to the danger you perceive. And that's when people make stupid decisions. They rush out to the store to get last-minute supplies and get caught in the panic buying frenzy. They make impulsive changes to their security setup that actually make them less safe. They get into confrontations with neighbors over resources. They abandon their bug-in plan and try to bug out at the worst possible time. All because they let their emotions drive their actions instead of sticking to their plan. I've been there. In 2012, during my first major storm prep, I got so worked up about whether I had enough supplies that I drove to 3 different stores in increasingly bad weather trying to grab a few more things. It was idiotic. I put myself at risk for stuff I didn't even really need. I learned that day that having a plan is only useful if you actually follow it when things get stressful. The antidote to panic is preparation and practice. When you've run through scenarios in your mind, when you've practiced your bug-in procedures, when you've got a clear plan for what to do in different situations, it's much easier to stay calm when something actually happens. Your brain goes into autopilot, following the steps you've already laid out. This is why drills are so important. Run through bug-in scenarios with your family. Practice sealing off your home, rationing your food, going into lockdown mode. The more familiar these actions become, the less scary they are when you have to do them for real. And when the crisis hits, take a breath before making any decision. Ask yourself, is this part of my plan, or am I reacting emotionally? That pause can save you from making a critical mistake. Mistake number 16, not managing morale and mental health. This is something that people overlook until they're in the middle of a long-term crisis and they realize how much of a problem it is. Being stuck inside, isolated, under constant stress, with limited food and comfort, it wears on you. It wears on your family. And if you don't actively manage morale,
people start to break down. Kids get restless and scared. Adults get depressed and irritable. Conflicts arise over small things because everyone's stressed. And in a survival situation, this kind of internal breakdown can be just as dangerous as external threats. A family that's fighting with each other isn't watching for danger, isn't making smart decisions, and isn't working as a team. You need to have things in place to keep morale up. Entertainment is huge. Books, board games, playing cards, puzzles, anything that keeps minds occupied and provides a break from the stress. If you have kids, this is especially important. They need structure and distraction, or they're going to drive everyone crazy.
But it's more than just entertainment. It's about maintaining some sense of normalcy and routine. Even in a crisis, try to stick to regular meal times. Have everyone do small tasks to contribute. Maintain hygiene routines. These little rituals provide psychological comfort and a sense of control in a chaotic situation. And don't underestimate the power of human connection. Make time to talk to each other. Really talk. Not just coordinate tasks. Share stories, play games together, just be present with each other. In the long-term bug-in, your family or group is all you've got. Those relationships are your lifeline, and you need to actively nurture them. Also, be aware of signs that someone is really struggling. If someone becomes withdrawn, stops eating, or can't sleep, they might be dealing with serious anxiety or depression. Have basic mental health first aid knowledge. Know how to talk someone through a panic attack. Understand that in a crisis, mental health is just as important as physical health. Mistake number 17, not having multiple layers of water security. We've talked about water already, but I want to dig deeper because this is so critical. You can survive 3 days without water, maybe a bit longer if you're not exerting yourself and the weather is cool, but that's it. After that, you're in serious trouble. So your water plant cannot have a single point of failure. A lot of preppers make the mistake of having just one water solution. Maybe they stocked up on bottled water, or they have a rain catchment system, or they've got a well, and they figure that's enough. But what happens if that one solution fails? What if your stored water gets contaminated? What if it doesn't rain for weeks? What if your well pump breaks? You need layers. Start with stored water. The more, the better. The general rule is 1 gallon per person per day, and that's just for drinking and basic hygiene. If you've got space, store way more than that. But notice stored water has limitations. It takes up space, it can go bad if not stored properly, and eventually you can run out. Next layer, water collection. Rain catchment is great if you live somewhere it rains regularly. Set up gutters that feed into food-grade barrels. But also think about other collection methods. Condensation, dew collection, even water from your hot water heater can be used in an emergency. Third layer, water sourcing. Know where the nearest natural water sources are. Streams, ponds, lakes, and have a plan for safely collecting water from these sources. This means having containers that are easy to carry and a way to transport water back to your home. But never trust natural water, which brings us to the fourth layer, water purification. You need multiple methods. Boiling is the most basic and reliable, but it requires fuel. A good water filter like a Sawyer or Life Straw can filter thousands of gallons and doesn't require fuel. Water purification tablets or bleach can disinfect water chemically. Having all three methods means if one fails or runs out, you've got backups. And here's something people forget. You also need to know how to test water quality. Cloudy or smelly water obviously needs treatment, but clear water can still have pathogens. Filter and purify everything from natural sources, no exceptions, and rotate your stored water every 6 months to keep it fresh. Mistake number 18. Not having a plan for dealing with human waste beyond the first few days. We touched on this earlier, but let me get specific because this gets bad fast. In the first few days of a crisis, you can probably get by with manually flushing toilets or using a bucket system. But as the crisis stretches on, you're going to accumulate waste, and that waste becomes a serious health hazard. Human feces can harbor dangerous pathogens, E. coli, salmonella, cholera, all kinds of nasty stuff that can make you very sick. And the longer waste sits around, the more dangerous it becomes. Plus, it attracts flies and other pests that can spread those pathogens around your living area. This isn't just unpleasant, it can kill you. You need a long-term solution. If you got property and it's safe to do so, consider setting up a latrine. Dig a hole at least 6 feet deep, at least 50 feet away from any water source and downhill from your home. Build a simple structure over it for privacy. This is old school, but it works. When the hole fills up, you cover it with dirt and dig a new one. A more modern solution is a composting toilet system. These break down waste safely and can actually create usable compost, though you want to be very careful about using human waste compost on food crops. There are commercial composting toilets available, but you can also build a basic system with buckets and the right materials. If you're in an apartment or somewhere you can't dig or compost, you're looking at a bag and seal system. Heavy-duty bags, kitty litter or sawdust for odor control, and a way to store sealed bags safely until they can be disposed of. This is the least ideal solution because you're just accumulating waste, but if it's your only option, make it work. Whatever system you choose, the key is planning for it now. You cannot wait until your toilet stops flushing and you've got a crisis on your hands to figure this out. Stock up on the supplies you need, whether that's bags and kitty litter or the materials to build a latrine, and have the knowledge to implement your system safely. Mistake number 19, failing to rotate and check your supplies regularly. This is one of those mistakes that doesn't seem like a big deal until the crisis actually hits and you discover that half your supplies are unusable. Food expires, water containers can crack and leak, batteries corrode, medications lose potency. If you're not regularly checking and rotating your stockpile, you might find out too late that you don't actually have what you think you have. I learned this lesson the hard way back in 2015. I had put together what I thought was a solid 3-month food supply. Canned goods, rice, beans, all stored nice and neat in my basement. Then, about 2 years later, I decided to do an inventory check. Turned out that several of my canned goods had started to bulge, which means they'd gone bad. Some of my rice had gotten into by pantry moths, and my beans had weevils. I probably lost close to 30% of my stockpile because I hadn't been checking on it. Now I've got a system. Every 3 months, I go through my supplies. I check expiration dates on food and medications. I inspect containers for damage. I rotate stock so the oldest items are in front and get used first. And I actually use my preps in daily life, replacing things as I go. This keeps everything fresh and also means I'm familiar with what I have. Your stockpile isn't something you build once and forget about. It's a living system that needs maintenance. Make it a habit, put it on your calendar, and while you're at it, test your equipment too. Fire up that generator every few months. Check your water filters. Make sure your camping stove still works. You do not want to discover your critical equipment is broken when you actually need it. And here's a pro tip. Keep an inventory list. Write down what you have, how much, and when it expires. This makes rotation so much easier, and it also helps you identify gaps in your preps. Maybe you realize you're low on batteries, or that your medication stockpile is getting thin. Having that written inventory keeps you organized and prepared. Mistake number 20. Not practicing your bug-in plan. This is the final mistake, and it's the one that ties everything together. You can have all the supplies in the world, all the knowledge, all the plans, but if you've never actually practiced bugging in, you're going to make mistakes when it counts. Think about it. When was the last time you actually ran through a bug-in scenario with your family? Have you ever spent a weekend living as if the grid was down, using only your stockpiled supplies and equipment? Have you tested your security measures, your communication systems, your water purification methods? If the answer is no, then you don't really know if your plan works. Practice reveals problems. Maybe you discover that your camp stove doesn't work as well as you thought. Maybe you realize that your kids are way more stressed by the situation than you expected. Maybe you find out that your food stockpile isn't as filling or as easy to prepare as you assumed. All of these are good things to learn now, not during a real crisis when there are no second chances. Start small. Do a 24-hour practice bug-in. Shut off your main power breaker, seal up your home, and live off your preps for a day. Use only the water you have stored, cook with your emergency equipment, practice your security routine, see what works and what doesn't. Then debrief with your family. What went well? What was harder than expected? What do you need to change? Then scale up. Try a weekend, then maybe a week. Each time you'll refine your plan, improve your systems, and build confidence. And just as importantly, you'll get your family used to the idea of bugging in. They'll know what to expect, they'll know their roles, and they'll be much less likely to panic when something real happens. This practice also reveals gaps in your preps. Maybe you realize you don't have enough batteries for your flashlights. Maybe you discover that you need more variety in your food because eating the same thing for 3 days straight is miserable. Maybe you find out that your sleeping arrangements aren't comfortable enough for long-term use. All of these insights help you build a better, more realistic bug-in plan.
And practice isn't just about the physical stuff. It's about building mental resilience. When you've successfully made it through a practice bug-in, even if it's just for a weekend, you gain confidence. You know you can do it. And that confidence will carry you through a real crisis when doubt and fear are trying to take over. One more thing about practice. It's not a one-and-done deal. Run drills regularly, at least a couple times a year. Conditions change, your family changes, your supplies change. What worked last year might not work now. Regular practice keeps your skills sharp and your plan current. And it keeps preparedness at the front of your mind, so you're always thinking about how to improve. So there you have it. 20 critical mistakes that preppers make when bugging in, and more importantly, how to avoid every one of them. From keeping quiet about your preps to practicing your plan, each of these lessons can make the difference between surviving a crisis comfortably and barely making it through. But here's the thing I want you to really understand. Bugging in isn't about being perfect. It's not about having every possible scenario covered or every piece of gear known to man. It's about being prepared enough that when something bad happens, you can stay in your home, keep your family safe, and outlast the worst of it. It's about buying yourself time while everyone else is panicking. And that's where that free guide I mentioned earlier comes in. If you haven't grabbed it yet, I really encourage you to do so. It's going to walk you through the exact steps to build a 90-day food supply with just $50. That's specific brands, specific prices, and specific strategies for storing it all, whether you're in a house or an apartment. Plus, you get the list of 37 essential items that most people never think about, and the simple tricks for making meals when you don't have cooking fuel. The link is right in the description below or in the pinned comment. It's completely free, no strings attached. Just let me know where to send it, and it's yours. Look, I've been prepping since 2012, and I've learned these lessons the hard way, so you don't have to. Every mistake I've talked about today is something I've either made myself or seen other preppers make. And the cost of these mistakes in a real crisis can be huge. But the good news is, now you know what to avoid. Now you can build a smarter, more effective bug-in plan that keeps you and your family safe no matter what comes your way. I want to leave you with this thought. The best time to prepare was yesterday. The second best time is right now. Don't wait for the perfect moment or the perfect plan. Start where you are with what you have. Stock up on water today. Get your security measures in place this week. Run a practice drill this month. Every step you take now is one less thing you'll have to worry about when things get real. And remember, prepping isn't about living in fear. It's about living with confidence, knowing that whatever happens, you've got a plan, you've got supplies, you've got knowledge, and you've got the skills to protect the people you love. That's what this is all about. If you found this helpful, do me a favor and hit that like button. It helps other people find this content and get prepared too. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because I'm putting out new prepping content every week that's going to help you build your skills and your confidence. And drop a comment below. Let me know which of these mistakes surprised you, or share your own bug-in experiences. I love hearing from you and learning what's working for other preppers out there. And hey, if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who's just getting into prepping, or someone who's been at it for a while but might be missing some of these critical pieces, share this video with them. The more people who are prepared, the better off we all are in a crisis. A prepared community is a resilient community. All right, folks, that's all I've got for you today. Stay safe, stay smart, and keep prepping. This is Zach of All Trades reminding you that the best defense against an uncertain future is being ready for anything. I'll see you in the next one.